My name's Alexander Johnson. I'm 27 years old, and I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 13. It was difficult at that time because at that time I was the captain of every sports team. I was the captain of the hockey team, of the floor hockey team, rather, of the soccer team, of the basketball team. I was an A student all the time. And it just felt like I had really lost everything. It really felt like I was losing everything. And it was just, I felt really clumsy at that time. And I would just start trying to push myself and try to convince myself that I could still do stuff. And I do that throughout high school as well. And I remember grade eight, I thought that there was no problem. And I tried out for the soccer team, and I went and I said, there's no problem with this. And I had a seizure while I was trying out, and I just fell and I broke my thumb. And I remember, and my parents were so mad at me. I said, but there's no difference, right? There's no problem. Well, and gradually, but slowly but surely, I had to slowly but surely understand that epilepsy was a real thing and I would have to deal with it. And eventually I had to start coming up with new jobs. I came up with the equipment manager jobs at school. At school, I'd come up with equipment manager jobs for the sports teams so that I could still be on sports teams instead of trying out and just hurting myself. So I get to go, I get to be part of practice, I get to run up and down, I get to do all that kind of stuff. And I'd still get to have the fun, but, the C wasn't on your jersey, and, well, you didn't get to wear the jersey anyway, right? So it stunk either way. But it was a painful process. And I think one of the most painful processes overall was the fact that you would go and just in the classroom going and you'd try so hard and you get those marks back. And no matter how hard you try, with all of the medications hurting your memory and everything about it, you get those marks back. And what used to be 85, 90, 95, and even sometimes 100, you're there and you're looking at 50, 60, 75 if you're lucky. And you'd go home and you'd just be so frustrated with yourself. You'd sit there and you'd just be, Alex, what are you doing? You can do better than that. But you knew you really couldn't. You really couldn't. And you had to convince yourself from what used to be, you can get an 85. 85 is like a low mark for you. It was, now you just have to try your best. And it was just painful to tell yourself that all you can do now, Alex, is just try your best. But gradually, somehow we found our way. We found our way and we slowly got ourselves into the 80s. Guess we got lucky with medication. we slowly got ourselves into the 80s, and we just slowly slid ourselves in, I guess, in grade 12. And we took an extra year as well. We took an extra year. So we were there for 5 years, in high school for 5 years. And in the 5th year, we were looking for scholarships and bursaries to go to university. And so we decided we're going to look for a scholarship for people with epilepsy. And so we went and we got one. We got one from Epilepsy Ontario. And we met someone right beside us who we're now friends with, Chloe Gallagher. And she went to Epilepsy South Central Ontario, and was told us about them and their youth group. And so hearing about the youth group, I've heard about the youth group, and then I decided, oh, well, if they have a youth group, maybe I should join their youth group. And so I went and I joined their youth group. I went to their youth group once or twice. And then I said, this is a fascinating place. So I went once and twice, maybe 3 or 4 times. And the head of their youth group, Carly, said something one day about a baseball game. They were going to a Blue Jays baseball game. And now my mom, when she first came from Jamaica, she loved baseball until they they went on strike in '94, and then all of a sudden she just hated them after that. But my dad said, you haven't been to a Jays game in a long time. Why don't you go? I said, I don't really feel like it, but I went. And I had a great time at the Jays game. At the Jays game, I had a good time. And then I was asked for I don't quite remember, but I met quite a few people at the Jays game, and it was a good time. It was quite a good time meeting a whole bunch of new people that I had never seen before. And it was just nice, because originally you're there and you feel like you're by yourself. You feel like you're by yourself. You've never met people before. And I guess Epilepsy South Central Ontario does that with their events. You go and you meet new people that you've never met before, and now you feel more connected with people. When you're by yourself and when you're just alone, I guess, when you're on the streets by yourself, you don't meet people with epilepsy. 1 in 100 people have epilepsy. I guess when you're in a classroom, when you're going around town, you don't really catch and meet people with epilepsy day by in day out. And so it's a rare happening. But it was a good feeling. I had a good day. I had a good afternoon, and it was a good feeling. after that day, a couple weeks later, I went to the I went to the youth group again. I guess it was a year later after that. I was introduced. I don't think it was a year after that, no. In 2018, I was called in to Sunny Days Camp, and I became a counselor for Sunny Days Camp. Sunny Days Camp, now, while 1 in 100 people have epilepsy, and 1% is a high amount, in a classroom, just when you're in a classroom, little kids in classrooms, when your back is a little kid in a classroom, or even in a day camp, just 1 in 100 isn't a lot. You have 25 kids in a classroom, that's not a lot. Those kids are alone. And so they feel lonely. But at Sunny Days Camp, having those kids together, they are much more related to one another. They feel more related to one another because they have an understanding of what each other is going through. And so that is a benefit to one another. And you don't have any sort of bullying going on in any sort of sense. You also don't have any sort of panic when seizures happen, when seizures occur. You don't have that because they also, those children, they experience them themselves as well. And so you don't have those sorts of panics, which in camps that I have worked with, other camps that I have worked with, it was a little bit of a different event, especially when I had a seizure myself, which was unfortunate. I think I was a little bit lucky to stay there. But life at Sunny Days Camp, I like Sunny Days, and life at Epilepsy South Central Ontario is a great organization. They help people grow. They help people understand seizures much better. They teach people how to deal with seizures. They teach people how to understand themselves and how to understand seizures better. Even people who have their seizures, they go and they have even the events. I can't even remember what it's called. The events where you go and you just enjoy your entire time out on a farm, and you learn so much, and you can enjoy your time. You can ride a pony. You can just eat a lovely dinner. You can just stand in the sun, breathe some lovely non-toxic air. You can just lie in the grass. It's just a lovely time. It's a lovely time, and few people get it. And so it's an absolutely lovely place to be. And so Epilepsy South Central Ontario is an excellent organization for people with epilepsy. And it's great as they they really help, especially me. They have really helped me, just giving me opportunities to have fun with my guitar and just my time. I truly appreciate what they do for me and what they do for the children and other people with epilepsy. They're a good group, and they deserve all of the credit that they have, and I believe even more, because they do an excellent job. And that's all I have to say. They do everything that they can and even more. Thank you.